This is the Gatekeeper and this is the Capra. Which one's the best for you? Stay tuned to find out. I'm trying to find which one of these is better, but they are a bit different. This is a rock runner, and its rear suspension, as you'll see in the review, is quite different. It's more similar to the Bomber and things like that. The Capra has coilovers that are attached to the axle, which actually gives the suspension more command over the axles. This is going to be better with its sway bar system at soaking up the bumps. So as far as going faster, the Gatekeeper is going to be more stable than the Capra. But if you want to go faster, there are probably better trucks to buy than either of these. Now that's the simplest way of dividing these two. If you take away speed and just look at rock crawling, things get a whole lot more complicated. Both of these guys have finished my 6 problem course successfully. So what I've done is I've stuck new Proline tyres. This has the Hyrax, this has the BF Goodrich crawlers. They're both Predator compound, they're the same size. Yes, the treads are a little different, but they're on the same wheels. This guy's slightly heavier than this guy. This guy, of course, has the 11.83% overdrive. This has no overdrive, but it's got a dig. The departure angle and the approach angle are both greater than 90 degrees. That's a big deal with rock crawling. But it does have the steering bar across the front there. The Gatekeeper uses behind the axle steering, which is really good. But then it's got this gigantic nose out the front. 70.5 degrees instead of the Capra's beyond 90. The departure angle is better, it's 88. And of course the Gatekeeper doesn't have portals, which the Capra most certainly does. So clearance is a question. But then if we're talking clearance, you've got these really nice bent links on the front of the Gatekeeper, whereas the Capra has straight links. Bent links are available for the Capra, which is good, and its axle configuration is such that the pinion and the drive shaft are up out of the way. That brings me to one of the things that bugs me about the Gatekeeper, which is the angle of that pinion, that drive, it's too low. We want to get that axle and bend it back up by lengthening these top links, and that will draw the axle backwards and pick that up a little bit. That's actually kind of a big deal. But the suspension, this is not crawling suspension. This is go fast suspension, rock race suspension. Better to have independent suspension, but if you're going to have a live axle, at least including a sway bar, really helps with stability at speed. But we're not that interested with these things at speed. We're looking at crawling. So the next test I'm going to do is to do a tip test. There we go. So what we're looking for is the center of gravity. At what point does this thing tip? 40, 41, 42, 43, 44, 45. Okay, so I got 45 degrees for the Capra. Now onto the Gatekeeper. It's going to be worse because it's quite heavy up top. There we go. Okay, we are at 30, 41, 40. It's right on the point at 42. The track is slightly different since I've got them here. The Capra is slightly wider. That's a boon for stability, and it can afford to be a bit wider because it has portals. The wider you go, the more you compromise your clearance. Getting the Gatekeeper open is kind of painful with these little pins. Getting the Capra open, same size pin but with a pull tab, that's a really minor detail, but oh man, it makes a difference. These guys kind of hurt, these guys don't. I'm not actually looking to test traction here, I'm looking to see whether that's going to happen. It's still doing it. Alright, that's the limit. So, the biggest one we found was that. Let's just try that again. Alright, so we're measuring the point where it doesn't tip backwards. That, I would say, is its limit. And we measured this already, didn't we? 752 and 508. Let's see if the Capra can do that. Well, it's not tipping back. I'll also add that the goodness me, look at this. Gatekeeper couldn't do that. Whatever the angle is, the Capra wins at not flipping over. So you see the difference here, right? So right there is the Capra's maximum. Ow, I just got bitten by a spider. 380. 380. Sweet, let's get these things on the course. All right, I'll play this recording just as audio because I'm going to take a time lapse of me driving first the Capra and then the Gatekeeper around the 6 problem course, and then instantly after that around the 10 gate course. I'm going to have a limit of 5 minutes total, so all 6 problems and the 10 gate course need to be done. These guys have been given much in their capability by design, so we're going to expect a fair bit more of them. I'll keep score, but I'm not going to film gate by gate because you've seen them already driving the courses, and I'd like to give them both the best possible chance for a good score. So I'll do it twice through for each truck, and I'll come back to you with the scores. As out of the box, I'll let you know, the biggest thing I like is having overdrive on the Gatekeeper. I actually still miss it on the Capra, even though it's got dig. Dig is superior for a tight turning circle, except when it's not. Anyway, enough talk. Let's get these things onto the testing. 2 rounds with each. The Gatekeeper took an average of 6 minutes 33 seconds and had an average score of 63. Its best score was 61. The Capra took an average of 6 minutes 18 seconds. Best time was 5:59. Gatekeeper's best time was 6:16, so pretty close. Had an average score of 11. Best score was 8. Gatekeeper's best score was 61. Now, the Gatekeeper was so much different because I had to do a bunch of resets. I'm calling resets 5 in this challenge, usually they'd be 10, but it's impractical when I'm trying to film. So I had 7 resets the first time and 6 resets the second time. That is when I have to pick the thing up and put it back at the previous gate. The Capra had 2 resets and then 1 reset. It's almost unavoidable. The problems are quite difficult by design because I'm trying to test rigs, so that's also why I'm forgiving some resets as being quite reasonable. To be clear, both of these rigs did really well, and we're comparing the cream of the crop. This is like a wondrous machine. Remember too, it has brushless goodness in it. It's got the Holmes version 3 servo. It's got the nice stuff. The Gatekeeper has been built to a budget. It's got a 1080 in it, but it's running the Holmes 16-turn 5-slot Crawlmaster, and it's just got a cheapy JX servo 25 kilo 6-volt servo in it. So for what it is, this thing did really well. Yeah, it lost pretty dramatically. 61 versus 8, let's say, our best scores, or 63 average to 11 average. But you take some of those resets out of it, and now we're into the 30s. Let's say 35 versus 11 for the Capra. Lower is better. The Gatekeeper scored so well, and when you remember it's also running Overdrive, I'm actually going to recommend it. But if you like this style of vehicle and you want to have some fun with a bit of speed as well, this is such a good machine. Element is making some really good stuff. This is a really good vehicle. And it fits 2.2s, incidentally. If you're after a more purist's rock crawling machine and you like this design, you can't really go past the Capra in comparison. This thrashed the Gatekeeper today, but it wouldn't be as good off-road, just generally speaking. It wouldn't be as bashable as the Gatekeeper. So this is my pick for rock crawling. Gatekeeper's my pick for bashing. Now, I'm not going to pick an overall winner because it's not that helpful. I personally like them both for different things. If I could only have one, I'd probably have the Capra, but that's also because I'm kind of rock crawling mad. And I also am lucky enough to have other cars that go fast. But if I didn't, it doesn't go fast enough to really scratch the itch, but you could gear it up and stick a big brushless system in it, but then you'd have some challenges with crawling. Look, the Gatekeeper's a great all-round vehicle, put it that way. Throw me a like if this was helpful. Really appreciate it, guys. I really enjoyed spending time on the rocks with you today. It was a lot of fun. Catch you next time.